Estate cars, they are seen by many people as the perfect all-round, delivering practicality but a saloon-like driving experience that means that they can apply themselves to all different types of scenarios and drivers. But in recent years they've come against some fierce competition with the likes of compact SUVs and crossovers coming into the areas that estate cars would have traditionally dominated. But today we're looking at three contenders that look to keep people with estate cars and away from SUVs. First off, we've got the Audi A4, which is a true, reliable contender in this segment. It's a car which has gone from strength to strength over the years and continues to be a great offering considering the amount of space that it delivers for the price that it's at. We've also got the new Volvo V60. It's Volvo's most compact estate car in the range underneath the V90 and brings some really clever technology as well as, I think, a particularly sharp look, which helps it to stand out from the crowd in what is quite a funky segment, I would say. And finally, we've got the BMW 3 Series, which has always been the dynamic contender and the one to go for if you want a spirited drive at the end of your long commute. This one in particular is the 330e plug-in hybrid, which aims to provide low running costs and lower fuel bills, but plenty of performance to go with it. So, what does each of these cars have to offer and why should you consider it as your next purchase? Well, that's what we're going to find out today. Against the BMW and the Volvo, the Audi's design is definitely more understated. This car isn't an S-Line, so it doesn't get the large alloy wheels, but I like the fact that you get black accents around the windows and for the roof rails too. It's not the most exciting of designs, but sometimes you don't want a car that shouts too much, particularly in this family estate car market. Against the Audi and the Volvo, I think the design of the BMW 3 Series is really sharp. You've got these slim headlights and slim rear lights, and it's all combined in a package which I think looks very appealing, both in terms of this estate silhouette and also just because it's quite understated while also feeling quite premium. Against the Audi and the BMW, the Volvo treads a really clever line right in the middle between dynamic and more functional design. The front end is really smart with its Thor's hammer headlights and the large prominent grille, while I also like the fact that this car gets plenty of black accents that contrast the red colour really nicely. The interior architecture of the A4 Avant hasn't changed all that much over the years, but it's still a very reliable, comfortable place to be. This car has some nice tech as well with the large central screen and Audi's virtual cockpit, which we've now become very well accustomed to. In the rear seats we've got plenty of space, and actually there's a good degree of headroom and legroom, and the seats are nice and wide and relatively comfortable too. There's quite a large transmission hump though, so you might have to bear that in mind if you're frequently travelling with 3 up in the back. With a 505 litre boot, the A4 Avant also has plenty of space for those larger items, and a nice low load area means that getting those heavier things in shouldn't prove too difficult. All tied together, it's a very practical and usable package. The BMW 3 Series has been given plenty of new technology, and against cars like the Audi, it blows them away because this car's curved display is both really clear and really responsive. You can use both the rotary dial in this car, or you can use the touchscreen. I use the touchscreen most of all. And through it you get loads of access to connectivity options, your media, your navigation, and all of your charging functions for this plug-in hybrid too. This car also has Amazon Alexa, so you can use it just the same way that you'd use your smart device at home. Rear seat space is pretty good, and because this car has an optional panoramic sunroof, you can lighten up the cabin and you can get some extra light, which makes it just feel a little bit larger. There are plenty of charge point options too throughout the car. Now when it comes to the boot, this 330e hybrid does lose out 90 litres against an equivalent 3 Series with a petrol or diesel engine, so that's something definitely worth bearing in mind if you need the best possible boot space. There's also quite a large bump before the main load area, which you would have to load those heavier items into. But the 3 Series party piece, of course, is that you get the split folding tailgate, which is great if you don't want to have to open the full boot, or if you've put your dog in the back and you need to access something out of the boot without letting them out of the boot. You can open that glass section and just jump right in. Volvo's cabins have always majored on their functionality, and I think that's the same in the one for the new V60. The build quality is excellent with some nice materials, and these seats are really comfortable too, while the position itself is spot on. The infotainment system has some Google and Android powered software, so you get things like Google Maps right from the off rather than having to use them via your phone. There are plenty of practicality focus options too, with lots of door bins and storage areas. When you get into the back, there's plenty of room there too, and I like the fact that they've put a hardened material over the transmission tunnel to stop people's feet from scuffing it. And move further back and you get a 529 litre boot, which is very large for the segment, and also doesn't change between hybrids because Volvo has cleverly packaged the way the batteries work to not impede on overall boot space. It's a very pleasant package overall, and one that feels, well, just feels like a Volvo. The Audi A4 has always delivered solid, comfortable and refined driving, and in this latest generation I think it's still ticking those boxes. Now, you can go over and watch our full review of this car on the Motors.co.uk YouTube channel, where you'll find a full rundown of what this car is like to drive. But to give you a pretty brief overview about it, this is a vehicle which feels incredibly comfortable. Now, this one that we've got today isn't an S-Line, so it's not the sportiest one around, and I think because it's on smaller wheels and because it's just been designed to be as comfy as possible, it's going to be a great choice for families, and particularly those people who do long days on the motorway, because it's ironing out an awful lot of these bumps on this road, and it's making the whole experience very quiet and very calm. The model that we're in today has a 2-litre turbocharged petrol engine with around about 200 brake horsepower, and that means a 0 to 60 time of just over 7 seconds. And combined with a 7-speed automatic gearbox, you've got a package which is quite pleasant overall. In fact, we're not getting an awful lot of life from the steering, but that's absolutely fine. This is a car that's just nice and easy to pilot. You don't have to worry too much about fighting it or trying to eke the best out of it. And as I've mentioned in my full review, it does away with some of the lag that we've seen afflicting Audis of late, mainly on the diesel versions admittedly, but this car just feels very well sorted, very polished I think you'd probably call it. And because the engine is so nicely isolated from putting its noises through into the cabin, it's just quiet and it's nice and easy to get along with. Through the bends, noticing just a little bit of lean there, a little bit of bounce. But that's okay, because if the byproduct of that is that you get a comfortable ride, then I think that's a worthy trade-off. Personally, particularly in an estate car like this, which is one where you want to put everyone in, you want to put all your kit and all your gear, and you want to get to your destination without having fought the car too much. And this A4 is a car that you don't have to fight to get the best out of it. If you wanted a sporty and dynamic drive from your regular car, then the BMW 3 Series has always been one of the go-to choices. I still think that remains much the same today. And compared to the Audi, which is a little bit more comfort focused, and the Volvo, which you could argue has always had one eye on practicality, the BMW has been the one to transform a boring normal drive into something a little more special and a little more out of the ordinary. The car that we're looking at today is the 330e, and it's a model which is incredibly popular thanks to its low CO2 emissions that make it a firm favourite for fleet users and for business drivers. But what's it like to drive, and how can we think of it in the same area as the Audi and the same as the Volvo? Now, I do actually give the full lowdown on what this car is like to drive over on the Motors.co.uk YouTube channel, so head on over and check that review out now if you'd like to find out more about the driving dynamics of this vehicle. But as a little bit of an overview, this is a car that will deliver around 40 miles of electric only running when the batteries are fully charged. And that means it's a great option if you've got shorter commutes, or if you just do those shorter daily drives, you can complete them all on electric battery power. However, when you call the 2-litre turbocharged petrol engine into question, it has got enough shove to keep you up to speed nicely. And in fact, once all that electric power is gone, it doesn't feel underpowered, it doesn't feel lackluster. It's certainly got more than enough in the tank to keep most of the cars honest. The driving dynamics are nice as well. We've got some nicely weighted steering, and though the ride is a little bit firm in places, I think that it's more than capable enough of dealing with the UK's roads at their worst. This car in particular has adaptive dampers, so you can switch between different damper settings. I like to leave it in comfort, which does the best at getting those bumps and little niggles of the road surface ironed out. If there's something that Volvo has been known for, it's making estate cars. Now, through the years, the Swedish company has established a great name for itself when it comes to roomy, practicality-orientated estate cars that, all right, might have had a slightly old-school charm to them, but definitely delivered when people just wanted space and they wanted an easy car to drive. More recently, the Swedish firm has definitely pivoted to become a little edgier, a little bit more design focused perhaps. And here in the V60 we've got its smallest estate car underneath the V90, and you could argue that this is one of its more important vehicles because it ties up everything that it needs into a package that is easier to drive and easier to position because it's slightly smaller. Now you can head on over to the Motors.co.uk YouTube channel where you'll be able to check out my full review of this V60, but as a brief overview, this T6 version combines a 2-litre turbocharged petrol engine with an electric motors and a battery for 342 brake horsepower, which is quite a lot for a car of this type. That means 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds. To drive, it's very capable, it's comfortable, although this version with its large alloy wheels does struggle with a slightly jumpy ride. And in fact, I'd probably be keen to go for a version on slightly smaller wheels just because I think it would give you the best possible ride quality. And that's something you want from an estate car like this. You want it to be comfortable and easy to drive. But I've got good visibility, I've got a nice wide windscreen, slim pillars, and a good view out the back. And in fact, apart from that slightly fractured ride, this is a car that keeps itself very well together. And whisking it down lanes is nice and easy, and on the motorway it feels refined and comfortable and well isolated from everything that's going on outside. The steering is nicely weighted, it's not too heavy, and the gearbox itself shifts pleasantly enough. I don't really have to think about too much about what the gearbox is doing or waiting for it to jump in at any given time. In truth, I think that all of the options that we've gathered here today would be really good for your next new car. The BMW 3 Series in particular provides that dynamic drive that can make a dreary commute into something a little bit more exciting, while the plug-in hybrid powertrain will do wonders for reducing your fuel bills. The Volvo has been quite a surprise because it brings quite a sharp dynamic edge. With that plug-in hybrid powertrain, that means that you get some real performance in a car that is still relatively understated but still has loads of practicality, while if you want user friendliness, then the A4 is going to be still the best choice because you can get in, drive without a moment's notice, and it really is a car that brings both practicality and ease of use at its very forefront. Fortunately, if you aren't looking in the brand new market, then there are lots of used examples of all of these vehicles available now on Motors.co.uk, so you can search out and find a good deal on your next new car. Please let us know what you think of these cars in the comment section below. Would you pick one of the three that we've gathered here today, or would you choose something else entirely? And since you're here, please remember to subscribe to the Motors.co.uk YouTube channel and click on that bell icon so you're notified every time we upload a new video.